This is set for bleeding brakes, so we're going to use the pressure bottle with appropriate adapter for the brake fluid reservoir. Then we're going to use a bottle with a hose to catch the fluid from the caliper that will fit here on the nipple, this red bit. We need 10 millimeter spanner for the bleeding screw, and then I use a syringe to drain the fluid from the brake reservoir and replace it with a new one. First thing, we need to drain the fluid from the reservoir and then attach this on the brake fluid reservoir. Then I have 3 liters of brake fluid just to flush the whole system while bleeding, and then a pressure bleeding tool. Open the brake fluid reservoir, and then we need to remove the sieve with a small screwdriver, and now we need to get all the fluid from the reservoir into the waste bottle. You can see how dirty is the old one. It hasn't been changed by the previous owners, probably for some time. I think that is all that I could get from the brake fluid tank. And now the next job is to fill the system with the fresh brake fluid. You just fill it to the normal level, so the upper normal level mark, that's where it needs to go. Depending how steady is your hand, you may use funnel or not. Brake fluid is quite corrosive, especially to the metals and paint. So it's worth to be careful and not to spill it anywhere. And if it happens, it's important to wipe it straight away. Now we have adapter for the bleeding tool. It needs to sit tight on and replace the reservoir cover. And now we're going to connect the bleeding tool hose to the adapter, and the whole system is going to be pressurized. But first, let's put some brake fluid into the tool. If you connect and pressurize the fluid without the fluid in the bottle, then you're just going to put air into the system. So that's definitely not what should be happening. 1.5 liters is more than enough for the whole system to be flushed, to be refreshed. So 1.5 liters should be enough. Everything needs to be sealed because we put some pressure in the whole system. There is a pump at the top, and in the moment we're going to increase the pressure to 1.5 on the manometer. It is connected. And now let's pressurize the system with the manual pump. With the manual pump that sits on the top of the bottle. And after the brake system is pressurized, then the next thing is to get to the bleeding screw at the caliper. So on the left side we have a bleeding nipple rubber cover, and then there is also brake pad wear sensor attached to that. Now we put a spanner, 10mm spanner on the screw, and then we can connect the hose that will drain the fluid from the system, the old fluid from the system. Everything needs to be tidy to avoid the spillage. And let's open the screw, and we should see the old fluid draining from the brake system in a moment. A little bit more, and here it is. The same dark used fluid is coming out. Basically drain it for as long as we can see the nice and clear fluid coming from the hose, and that's why it's nice to have both this hose to drain the fluid and the bottle that we're catching the fluid. It's nice to have them clear, so you can see actually what is coming, and actually it is important to make sure there is no air bubbles. Don't over tighten it. It's enough to close it just to stop the fluid from draining. Doesn't have to be very tight. It's very easy to cause some damage to the thread, and then later it's very difficult to undo the screw, as I will show you in another video. And on the right it's exactly the same thing. First we remove the cover for the bleeding screw, and then we attach the hose after we put the spanner on the bleeding screw. And because the lines were renewed, that's why there is lots of air, and the caliper was also empty. That's why there's lots of air first coming from the system, and then in a moment we'll see the fluid again. That looks very, very dark. That's not how the brake fluid should look like. It should be very, very bright yellow. And we're waiting until this fluid is going to get much clearer. Here it is, a different color. So we're definitely done. It's probably about 200 mils that is needed to achieve that. Close it again, not too tight. Remove the bleeding hose, replace the rubber, and you can go to the next wheel.